guys, welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Madison and I like to make tarot and oracle reading videos. So far I usually do things that are, the predictions for the next month. I've been doing full moon and new moon collective readings for everyone. And this one was a suggestion from one of my followers about doing something about past lives. Lately I've been looking a lot into North and South Node stuff when it comes to your natal chart, and that's a lot about what lessons you need to learn in this life. So if you want more deep personal information about something like that, go ahead and look up what your North Node is and do some research on that. Your South Node would be what your life was like in your past life, and your North Node is what you're supposed to learn in this life. It's very interesting, and it's something you can just look up and do for free. If you are interested in doing a deeper personal reading, just DM me on either Instagram or on Facebook and we can talk about it. My prices are pretty low because I have been doing this for a good 6 months, but it's only been about 6 months. I've been intuitive most of my life, but there was a lot of soul searching that needed to be done before I started doing this type of work. I used to kind of think that I didn't trust myself enough to do this type of work, but now it just is. About 6 months ago, it just kind of hit me, and now this is what I do, this is what I love to do, this is my hobby, everything like that. So let's go ahead and get into the pick a card. Go ahead and take those 3 deep mindful breaths. I'm gonna have 4 different decks to choose from, and each card has an animal on it, so pick which animal speaks the most to you and we'll do the reading from that perspective. Cool, let's get into it. Hi, if you chose group 1 and you chose the horse, I'm still learning these cards, they're new to me. They're so beautiful though, right? So I'm gonna read straight from the little booklet. If you chose horse, then your past lesson that you needed to learn how to do with endurance. I have the stamina to realize my potential. Imagine a horse with its boundless energy galloping across the plain. Strong and unwavering, horses have carried us on their backs for centuries. We can harness their strength to carry us toward our goals. Horse reminds us of the inner strength we all possess and how much we have already endured. Use horse's energy to pick yourself up on the days you feel lethargic or when a deadline is close and you are almost too weary to finish. Horse will also nudge you when you need to rest and recharge before you continue, or when you feel disconnected, listless, or fatigued. Rest is crucial to build the strength and endurance you need to realize your potential. You have carried yourself through many adversities, and you have the fortitude to continue doing so. Imagine yourself as strong, sturdy, and unstoppable, swiftly galloping towards your goals. Okay. So in your past life, that's something you struggled with, was endurance and feeling strong. We have, I help create a world where it is safe for us to love each other. Love is the most powerful healing force there is. I give it and accept it without limitation. Okay. So we're getting this endurance, and then we're getting love, acceptance, no limitations. So that means unconditional love. That's a hard concept to have. Many people think that unconditional love means that they could treat somebody however they want, and that person's just supposed to stick around. But that's not really what unconditional love is. Unconditional love is loving somebody enough to walk away, loving yourself enough to put yourself first, things like that. So kind of having that strength to release the conditions of the love that we think of whenever we think of the media. And sometimes our parents put that type of love into us too. They give us this idea that we need to obey in order to be loved, right? And in order to prove our love. We have a little reminder here, new moon in Cancer, you and your loved ones are safe. So I get the feeling that in your past life, you guys lived pretty luxuriously, or at least like you guys were safe. So it was a time whenever you were able to relax a little bit, and maybe that's where that lack of endurance came from. We also have remove the limiting labels you're wearing. Okay, so I was just talking about how having love that is conditional, right? We feel like we have to kind of prove our love to people all the time. But if love is unconditional, then you don't have to prove it. It doesn't come with conditions. It doesn't come with rules. It doesn't come with restrictions. Whenever you love somebody, you just love them. And that love is free and ever flowing. Because love isn't tangible. And people do try to make it tangible. People try to make love something they can see. So they make you perform in order to prove that you love them. They're like, if you really love me, then you would do this. Whenever it's like, I don't have to do anything to prove that I love you. I just love you. And also, you shouldn't be so afraid that that love is constantly questioned, you know? That's why it's important to have that love within first, right? I honor how I want to feel. Okay, so allowing those emotions to come through, and if you feel like it's hard to be happy but you want to be happy, that's basically what this card is. Like, you should honor what emotions you want to have and then frame your life around that. In the past life, you might have struggled to have that type of endurance, to have that type of strength to allow yourself to feel something, to go for things that you actually wanted to go for. Maybe in your past life you were very restricted and there was this idea that you had to be a certain person to be loved. And maybe you guys had your overall safety taken care of, which is where that you and your loved ones are safe comes from. So maybe it's like what they say, if you had shelter, food, like all those other needs were met, but your emotional needs were never met, you were still neglected. And I think that that's something that we're learning super recently, especially when so much of us were like, I don't understand how I could have been neglected. I had a bed to sleep in every night, I always had food. I took a bath every day, all of these things. But whenever our parents aren't there, or our caregivers aren't there for us emotionally, then we were neglected, and we do lack that type of sense of self and being comfortable with our own emotions and being able to express them. Okay, we have 10 of Swords here. So definitely some like it's the end of something for sure. It's whenever you get to that point where you're just fed up and you don't want to accept what's happening anymore. Like, you can see that she's just like scrolling on her phone, so it's like she has no energy. She's lethargic. She's taken so many hits that now she just wants to rest. We have 9 of Pentacles reversed. So that means that not feeling like I hate this glare. Not feeling like you can not feeling like you reaped the rewards that you actually wanted. So I get this feeling that in your past life, I do get the feeling that there was some emotional abuse there and that you were never able to actually reap the rewards of your accomplishments. You might have never been able to think outside the box or do something different or, something like that. I'm really getting the sense that, let's see, in the past, like being limited by health, or being limited by gender, because we all know that in the past, women, it was just expected that you just stayed home and took care of things. So women weren't exactly going out and making a career for themselves unless you were wealthy. You weren't making a career for yourself even then, but you were being sent off to Europe to learn how to paint or whatever. We have 3 of Swords reversed here. So this tells me that there was some type of heartbreak or betrayal, but towards the end of your life, you were already moving on from it. So maybe most of your life you were caught up in some type of abusive situation, and you were finally able to kind of let go of it. You had been feeling like limited. And then we have 2 of Cups here. So there was some type of like budding of a new relationship. You did have a type of like a soulmate, a really good friend, somebody you were in a relationship with. There was somebody in your life that you were close to. And they were by your side. It's over here with that you and your loved ones are safe. Okay, we have joy. I'm thinking this means that this might have been one of the lessons in your life that you struggled to learn, was to just have joy. Maybe there were restrictions. I mean, we said restrictions a few times, but maybe, yeah, there were expectations for you that were hard to meet. We also have mother here. So a mother figure was putting this type of pressure onto you in the past. I am getting a lot of energy here that you were a female. So maybe you were a mother towards the end, and maybe you felt like that was your limiting label, was it was like, I guess I'm just a mother, I can't really do anything else. And definitely in certain periods of time, women couldn't even own their children. I mean, you shouldn't own a person, but women couldn't even, like, let's say you guys got divorced, the child is his property, everything is his property, it's his money, you're technically his property. So if you were to leave this person, or, you know, disobey him to where he makes you leave, then you no longer have access to your children anymore. And then we have death here. So yeah, I get the feeling that you never were able to embrace who you truly were. You were just kind of like a mom. And you died with that, if that makes sense. So that lesson you might not have learned in that time was to strip yourself of those limiting beliefs and allow yourself to be free. So because of that, in this life, you are meant to embrace joy, and you are meant to love without limits. We have 10 of Wands here, which tells me that there was a time in your life whenever you were carrying everything. If you were the mother figure in this past life, then that would tell me that you were the one who had to run basically the entire household. Nine of Swords, this immediately popped into my head whenever I pulled this card, but this tells me actually that I think that your home life whenever you were growing up was not a good one. And then whenever you kind of took on this relationship role, you were able to release a lot of that pain that you had probably felt from your family home growing up. So that's what that tells me, is that you were able to kind of like let go and start moving on whenever you finally, because that was kind of the only choice you could make for yourself. And then we have Four of Cups here. So I don't think you were ever really fulfilled emotionally. I think you made the choice to get away. You might have married somebody who was kind to you, you had children, but maybe you were bored a lot, and maybe it just wasn't the type of life you wanted. And so it's over here with that Death card, so it's like your life kind of ended that way, of not being very satisfied. And then we have Page of Pentacles here, and I think that this tells me that in this life, it's going to be important for you to look within and kind of figure out how you can be independent financially for yourself, if you're not someone who's already doing that. Yes, we have Ace of Pentacles reversed. So another Pentacle card. So yeah, that's telling me again that, like, well, actually this tells me that there's some sort of block that's keeping you from making the most right now. This video is supposed to be timeless, but this is during the coronavirus, and I know that after the hype of the coronavirus is down, I know that our lives are still going to be changed forever. So you might be at a stopping point, or you might be at like a crossroads right now, and you're not sure how exactly you can have financial stability. Yeah, and it's kind of like that repeating. There's that reminder that you and your loved ones are safe. I get the feeling that in this life you guys are too. And then, yeah, it's sort of like moving on from that betrayal, trying to embrace joy, but you're also like overwhelmed with everything. This Three of Pentacles reversed, yeah, it also tells me that like you're not able to work on the skills that you need to be working on right now. I do see a good relationship here. I think this is still actually past life here. Yeah, because you weren't able to work on the skills. You felt very trapped. In this life, definitely, though, I think that you have the ability to learn how to make that difference. So let's go ahead and put that Ace of Pentacles reversed and that Three of Pentacles reversed back with your past life, because I don't think it's making sense for it to be with your current life. It could be mirroring it, because many times we do kind of mirror what our past life was because it's comfortable. We've already lived it. So we kind of want to go back to living it again, but we didn't learn the lessons we were meant to learn. And also, we already had that experience. Your spirit already had that experience. So it's good. It's important in this world to learn how to do something different. We have 10 of Cups here. Okay, so this is what your lesson is in this life, is to kind of have that, like, have it all kind of moment, like have this close relationship with the people that are around you, like either really close friends, maybe you have a good relationship with your family, or maybe you don't, but you could, like you could reach out to them better. Definitely if you have abusive people in your family, do what feels right to you. But I'm just getting this feeling here that you're meant to have close relationships with your family. It could be the new family you create, like whoever you end up marrying, whoever, if you're into marriage, having children, having your fur babies, whatever it is that you're into that makes you feel loved and accepted. That is like your purpose in this world. And in that death experience, your rebirth is to do something different. We have Two of Swords reversed here, so this means that there's a decision to be made. And let's see. I feel like there's a decision to be made when it does come to your family, and you're worried about it a lot right now. You're worried about making the wrong choice, but you have to make a decision soon. Because that's over here with that Mother card, and that kind of like staying awake at night worrying, but you're kind of moving on from that, and that like pack horse, that donkey mentality, you know, that you have to carry everything, and that limiting label. So you're gonna have to make the choice to do something different. Here we have, listen to your intuition. It's speaking to you. It's telling you exactly where you need to go. And if something is making you uncomfortable, explore that. Explore why it's making you uncomfortable. See if it's meant for you and if it's a lesson you need to learn in this life. It's over with this limiting labels here. So listen to your intuition whenever it comes to the labels that have always been given to you. Have you always been labeled as something that you're not? Do you feel like you constantly join groups of people and then you're labeled as the quiet one? Or everybody thinks that you wouldn't do something, but like you totally would? We get like put into these boxes, and then we continue to perpetuate that because we continue to be around people who treat us the same. So it's good to listen to your intuition and stop letting people label you and restrict you. We also have get more information. Like I was saying earlier about the North and South Node, look more into it. See what exactly it is that your life lesson is supposed to be. If you do end up looking it up, leave in the comments or like message me on Instagram or something so we can talk about it, because I find this stuff so interesting and so fun and fulfilling, you know? So, okay, that is your reading for what you did not learn in your past life and what is possible for you to learn in this life. So, reminders is the endurance, the strength, stripping away the limiting beliefs, taking off the mask, all those things. Let's not let people label us, put us in boxes, and restrict our lives. Okay, if that resonated, please leave a comment below to let me know, and I'll see you next time. Thanks. Bye. Okay, group 2. If you chose the Lion, then this is your reading. This is from a new deck I got, so I don't have the cards totally memorized yet, but I'm going to read the passage from the book to you guys so you can get an idea. But the Lion gives me the idea that in your past life you did not learn leadership. That was something you lacked in your life. I am the master of myself. These kings and queens of the savannah rule with quiet certainty. The pride is fiercely protected by the dominant males, while the females lead the hunt and generously share their bounty with all members. These majestic cats are born to lead. Lion shows us that the true leader teaches from a position of equality. They guide by example, not by roaring commands. They share knowledge freely, and they know there are enough opportunities for everyone to succeed. Lion teaches you how to be master of yourself. The energy of lion encourages you to take pride in yourself and to build confidence in your decision making. Avoid putting others on pedestals and beware of those who put themselves on one. Ask yourself if you are caught up in the hunt for approval. Are you comparing yourself to others? Are you being a good leader or stifling someone else's leadership? Do you freely give away your power to others? It is time to step into your power, the leader you seek inside of you. So it's really important in this life, for you in particular, to learn how to lead and how to take charge. If you have any fire in your chart, then that's awesome, because you already have kind of that leading start on that, because fire energy is much more likely to actually get things started, and they're natural leaders and, you know, things like that. So yeah, that is your purpose. With every breath I take, I'm getting healthier and healthier. My body is a mirror of my inner thoughts and beliefs. I nourish it with good foods and healthy exercise. Okay, so in this life, it's very important for you to use that leadership skill to take care of yourself health-wise. So kind of be the pioneer whenever it comes to these things. If you're in a family unit where everybody just kind of eats what they want, nobody really exercises, and you're kind of the only one that cares about those things, just continue to pioneer that. And at least you know that you're helping yourself, even if they're kind of refusing the help. Hopefully they would be eventually respondent to it, but we can't always control what other people do. So just continue to lead by example. Okay, we have New Moon in Gemini. Communication is key. This card is stalking me, you guys. But like when I was shuffling, it randomly just fell on the floor earlier. And it's come up for me multiple times this week. But yeah, communication is key. We also have the New Moon in Gemini coming up pretty soon. This video is supposed to be timeless, but at the time I'm recording this, New Moon in Gemini is coming up soon. So I just made some notes about this the other day, and basically most of what this is it's about communicating with the people around you, the people closest to you, reaching out to family members you might not have spoken to in a while. It's a good chance to open up that communication and open up that window to talk to people and have these stronger bonds with them. This is a reminder, your soul whispers love, your ego shouts fear. So this is a good reminder to not listen to our ego. You heard in the part when I was reading about the lion that they were talking about not roaring at each other, right? And to just like communicate effectively. So in order to communicate effectively, we need to not speak from our ego. We need to talk to people on equal ground. None of that, how dare you? None of that, you should do this, you need to obey me. No trying to get people to prove their devotion to you. None of that. That is not a healthy way to communicate with anyone. And it does not get you the results you want. My capacity to tune into the energy of love gives me the words I need when I'm ready to speak up. The compassion I need when it's time to forgive, and the power I need when I'm lost. Okay. Yes, so a big reminder of that. Do not speak from ego. Do not speak from fear. Use your communication to have effective communication with people, and do not use these unhealthy tactics we learn in childhood to deal with other people. You know how mean elementary school kids are to each other. It starts there. Our ego starts forming at that point. The first time you come to school wearing something you love to wear and a kid is like, that's ugly, that hurts your ego. That affects you throughout your life, and it's something you have to look at, examine, realize that that kid felt bad about themselves. It's the only reason they said anything, and kind of like move on and learn from that, if that makes sense. And some people might not be taking it like very seriously. Like there are plenty of people that are like, they think that what other people do should have no effect on you at all. And in a way, I agree with that, because if you have good boundaries, then what other people do doesn't affect you as much. But we cannot control, whenever we were growing up, what the media portrayed to us, how our parents treated us, how much we tried to fit in with others and couldn't. Those are all things that do affect you in adulthood. And people like to be like, get over it. And it's not really about getting over it. It's about letting it go. And that's totally different from getting over it. you know? It's kind of like embracing what happened, examining it, and being able to apply it to who you are as an adult and move on from it, you know? Have that growth. Because you're meant to lead in this world, not live in cycles and not be reminded of those traumas of the past. It's raining right now, so it's starting to get a little darker. So if it keeps on getting dark, I'm probably going to turn on the light, so it might like... Okay. We have 3 of Cups reversed. So this tells me that in your past life, you were constantly trying to fit in with a group that you did not fit in with for whatever reason. Right now, what popped into my head is race relations. That's a really big thing of what I'm getting right now. I get the feeling that your family might have been one that moved to an area that was a different race or a different ethnicity from what you grew up with. So you felt like you didn't fit in, and you were constantly kind of an outcast. And in those situations, communication would be difficult because you can't really convince somebody to not be racist anymore. You know, they kind of have to they have to learn that within, because that is something that was ingrained in childhood for them. So they have to learn it, they have to unlearn it, go through the process of accepting that that was how they were conditioned, accepting that their family was wrong, all those things. It's like a whole process. So it would be difficult to just have open communication with somebody and have them get past something like your appearance when they've been taught their whole life that your appearance should make them afraid. Not advocating or saying it's okay. I'm just saying that that is the reality of it. We have Ace of Cups here. So this tells me that you were taken on like a new emotional journey, and ooh, it's getting darker. I'm gonna turn on the light. Okay, now I'm just gonna be a little orange. Okay, so this Ace of Cups definitely, I think it tells me that you still had so much love to share with other people. You kind of went on this emotional journey of trying to maybe change others, have this communication with people, being open with people. That was something really important, it seemed to be, in your last life. That reminder, the capacity to tune into the energy of love, right? It gives us that power within. So I think you were already starting to do the work in your past life to become someone who communicated effectively. We also have Ace of Wands here. So this tells me too that you kind of had an idea of creatively of what to do and how to change your situation. So I'm wondering how much change was done. We'll see. But yeah, so I think you do have a lot of fire energy. Queen of Wands too. So kind of becoming the expert on this thing that's going on. So this gives me the idea that through this experience in your past life, you became an expert on communication, talking to people. You could be, I'm just getting the idea that you could actually be a Gemini. You could not, but there's definitely fire in your chart. But yeah, so you kind of became an expert on this thing in the way to like express it to other people. We have the divine feminine. So looking into this, like, that's another thing about communication, because like being close to our divine feminine does have to do with communication, working with other people, being in tune with our emotions, things like that. So I feel like in your past life you were a very intuitive and empathic person, and it helped you with communicating with others even though you were in this situation where you did not fit in with others for whatever reason. It could not be the race thing. That's just what had popped in my head. We have humility here. So in your past life, you were humbled by your experience. There's this thing that we learned in history when I was in college about double consciousness. And there's kind of this idea that whenever you grow up in a society where you are the other, you have this double consciousness because you know already what people think of you. And you have an accurate view of it too. It's not paranoia. Some people get paranoid and they think people think things about them when no one's even looking at them. But double consciousness is kind of like, it's like, I know who I am. I know what other people see. And I know that there's nothing I could do to change what that person thinks about me. So there's that humility there. Definitely. We have vulnerability here. So I think that you didn't mind expressing your vulnerabilities in your past life, and it led you to having these conversations with people, being humble, embracing the fact that it was okay that you didn't fit in with everybody. You still allowed yourself to be vulnerable with the people around you, and still allowed yourself to speak from a place of love. We have Three of Pentacles here. So I definitely get the feeling that you were working on a creative project in your old life, and you spent a lot of time working on it. And this is probably where you spent most of your time, was working on this project. I immediately got the feeling of writing, like maybe writing a book. I get the feeling you spent a lot of time writing and using your communication skills to express things in that way, maybe poetry. We have Ace of Wands reversed here. So that spark of an idea, sometimes that stuff can get blocked. So there was definitely some blockage in moving forward. So that gives me the feeling that something happened, and that spark of energy that you kind of always had was kind of, it started to dim. Maybe you got older and you just didn't have as much energy anymore, and things weren't progressing in the way that you had thought that they would. We have the Emperor reversed. So if you are an Aries, which we were just talking about fire energy, right? This is just a symbol that you picked the right deck. But yeah, the Emperor reversed is all about letting go of control. If you have it reversed, that means that there was too much control in your life. And I think that this control came from other people, honestly. I don't think that it was internal. I think that there was a force and a limitation in your past life that kept you having to do these specific things that you didn't really feel comfortable doing. Or you were kept labeled as a specific thing when that wasn't who you were. So there was like this controlling external force. And I think that that's where that loss of that spark kind of came from. And then we have High Priestess here. So listening to your intuition. I had said earlier that I think that you were an empath and you were very intuitive in your past life, and this is kind of a confirmation that that's true. You might have been a light worker or a healer of some sort, and maybe that's where a lot of this communication came from, this humility, the divine feminine. You might have been somebody that you could always help people, you always knew what to say, and things like that. We have Nine of Pentacles reversed. So this tells me that you never accomplished that thing that you had been working on for so long. There never really came an accomplishment or abundance from that. And I think that it came from that never fitting in type of thing. We have Six of Pentacles here. And this tells me that you were always a giving person, even if it meant the detriment of yourself, that you were always willing to give to others. And I think that came from that divine femininity inside. And I think that you kind of refused to let the world harden you. That's what I'm really getting this feeling of here, especially because I put that down with the Ace of Cups. I feel like you, in your past life, you would have been the type of person to give somebody the shirt off of your back. You would have been the type of person where somebody had wronged you before, but now they're coming begging for help, and you're there to offer it, even if it means that you might suffer or you might not have something. It seems like in your past life you were always a giver, and you were very big on communicating and being there for people and being an empath. We have Four of Wands. This is celebratory, so this gives me the idea that you were pretty happy about your life and who you were, and you took the time to celebrate. And I think that you did have people close to you. It just wasn't like this overall acceptance from the community is I think what was lacking. It just popped into my head too that maybe if not a race related thing, it could have been a magical type thing. Like maybe you were always drawn to the occult type stuff, and that wasn't accepted in the society that you were in. But you didn't let it stop you from celebrating and being the type of person that you were. Then we have Three of Pentacles here. So this is just kind of like laying down some of the groundwork. So that means that you did do some of the work. Definitely. I mean, it's going to be over here with that Three of Pentacles again, so like double. You did a lot of the work, you kind of had a passion, it's something that you went for, and that was what you spent a lot of your time doing. Like basically most of your life was meant to be on this project. I don't know if maybe your life ended before you were able to finish, or if something happened that stopped you from finishing it. I'm not sure. For now, we have reconsider. So it's time to reconsider something in your life. It's going to be placed down over here with that not speaking from ego energy we had over here. So I immediately got the feeling that you're kind of thinking that you're going to tell somebody something or something like that. And I'm getting the feeling that you should reconsider how you're going to approach that topic with them. And then we have no need to worry, which is going to be placed down here with communication is key. So no need to worry, because communication can always be there. Even if you can't communicate with the person directly, you can communicate with yourself about what's going on. You can journal about the topic. You can talk to a therapist. You can talk to a close friend about what is going on. Just make sure that what you're trying to talk about is productive. This is something I suffer with too. That's the only reason I'm like expressing it as well, is it's like venting can help sometimes, but overly venting, overly validating yourself, kind of like reliving it constantly, it's not good for our soul either. So if you're going to talk about it and communicate about it, make sure you have a reason you're doing it and that it's productive. Okay, so that was your reading about what your past life was like. And just a reminder that in this life you are meant to lead. I think in your past life you already started that. You already started being kind of an open soul for people to talk to and communicate with. You were an empathic person, some type of healer. So I get the feeling in this life that you are meant to lead people again. And that you might have the upper hand this time that you might not have had in your past, because whatever limiting thing they had was something that could not be changed. It was something about them, it was something about you that could not be changed. That's why I had that strong sense of like race relations or something like that. And in this life that might not be as much of an issue. Not saying that, you know, you don't have some type of things that you're working against, but it could just be like, this is a different world where you're able to express yourself the way that in your past life you could not. So yeah, get that leadership quality in. And if you are a fire sign, comment and let me know, because I'm interested to see, or if there's any in your chart. I have some fire. My Mars is in Aries, so if you don't know what that means, forget it. But if you do, yeah, just like talk to me about it. All right, leave a comment if that resonated, and I will see you next time. Bye. Hi, if you chose group number 3, then you chose the Hawk. This is from one of my new decks, so I don't have it memorized yet. I have a little booklet here I'm about to read from, but what you did not learn in your past life was the ability to observe, which makes me immediately think that in your past life you might have been somebody who reacted a lot. And reactions, instead of responding, are 2 completely different actions, and they create 2 completely different outcomes. So let's go ahead and read about it. I look at my life from high above to see the big picture. Hawks scan the fields below from great heights for their next meal. Their keen eyesight can spot tiny prey from hundreds of feet above. They see the big picture. Hawks ask us to fly above our lives to objectively determine what is really important. Do the insignificant things really matter in the entire scope of our lives? Petty things like the blows to our ego we suffer on occasions seem to diminish when we view from a distance. When Hawk appears, look at your life from above. Detach your ego from the situation so you can look at it without bias. Start by releasing the need to control, blame others, or complain. Be aware of yourself when you experience emotions such as jealousy, guilt, and resentment, and recognize what triggered them. Be the observer of your own behavior. Many times in therapy, that's something people are kind of taught if they are having a hard time not reacting. If you kind of grew up in a family, and I'm feeling like in your past life it was mostly about reactions and being triggered a lot. So what they teach you in therapy is to observe behavior and not allow yourself to just be in it. Like, look from the outside. And sometimes it can be uncomfortable, especially when you do it to your family, because like with your mom or dad, you always play into the same role. So then whenever you're observing it, you start to see exactly the steps they're taking to put you back there, you know? And this is especially if you haven't done any healing work with your family at all. Because once you start doing the healing work with your family and you start establishing these boundaries and they're strong and those things like that, they're going to stop expecting you to go back to your role. I mean, that's not to say they won't ever slip up again. They're just going to approach things differently, you know? And they're going to not expect it from you. You could get some passive aggressiveness from that. Like a little bit of like, yeah, whatever, you don't care. You know, like just let it fly and let it slide. And be the observer of their behavior, because then you can label and see exactly what it is that they're doing. And then also you can see it in your other relationships, so you're not repeating the same patterns. You're not dating somebody who treats you like your parents over and over and over again, or becoming friends with people who are like your parents. You're able to identify and observe what is happening. And you can also respond instead of react. That was a really good first card. Because in your past life, you never learned that lesson, so it's time now. I have the power to make change. Every habit and pattern I create serves me in some way. When I am ready to let it go, the universe helps me release it. So to stop living in cycles is something that you have the ability to do. You just need to be able to do the work to do it. It's not an easy thing to do, to change our habits. But you have the ability to do it. We have full moon in Aquarius. Show the world the real you. So it's time to stop playing into the roles that people have for you. It's time to start being who you truly are, you know? And show the world who that person is, you know? Ooh, this next card here. I was about to say show off your unicorn side, you know? But here we have embrace your inner divine goddess. So you are powerful, you know? And you have the ability to be divine, but you have to be able to do the internal work, the shadow work, you know? If you're confused about what shadow work is, just look into it more and allow yourself to be open to changing those things so that you don't continue to be triggered and live in this world where you're constantly reacting. It is so damaging to your nervous system to constantly be triggered, and many times if we kind of put our guards down and we expect somebody who has shown us repeatedly that they are a toxic person, they're abusive, they're all these things, if we continuously go into the situation expecting that we can control them and make them not do toxic stuff, whenever they do it and whenever they force you to react because you are allowing yourself to be swept up in the idea that I can change them, that will be a shock to your nervous system. And that damages us. That gives us anxiety attacks, panic attacks. It creates our unhealthiness in our bodies. Fibromyalgia is so tied to anxiety. IBS is so tied to anxiety. So in order to approach these situations as an observer and no longer someone who's trying to come in and change the complete family dynamic, you're able to be more accepting about what happens, and you're also able to walk away. Because if you're observing, you're not in it. You can leave a performance, right? If you're observing a band playing and you don't want to be there anymore, you can just go. But whenever we feel like we have to be a part of the performance and we have to play into that role and do what is like been taught for us to do since we were children, then we continue to perpetuate it and we continue to live in those cycles, and they are so bad for you. Like, so bad. Like, they say that millennials, like, their anxiety and stress is so much higher than other generations, and I think a lot of it stems from that. A lot of it stems from these roles we're meant to play, these expectations that are put on us. We become slaves to our parents' emotions, and then we put that into our next relationships where we become slaves and people pleasers and all of these things that do not serve us. That's actually kind of a big reason of why I'm doing this type of work. Sorry to be so intense, but it's just like, that's what I'm getting here, and it is like so important and so crucial to not let our reactions and our emotions completely drive our lives. And I learned that too. There's a stream of love supporting my dreams. So if you have a dream and you have something you want to go towards, surround yourself with people who support it. if you surround yourself with people that don't believe in you, then you're just going to keep getting that same message over and over again that you don't, that it's not going to happen. In my life, I've kind of had this, like whenever I've made decisions, I'm going to do different things. There's always been people who are like, you can't do that. You're not going to be able to do that. And then, you know, I stop hanging around them. And then they're like, how come you don't come around anymore? Because you talk down to me. That's why I don't come around anymore. And guess what? I did do those things I said I was going to do. And I did them without your support or your help, so I don't need you, you know? If you want to be in my life, you need to be supportive, you know? So that's kind of like a reminder to like have that boundary with people, because nobody is entitled to your time and your space and your energy and all those things. Nobody is entitled to it. And you kind of have to remind people of that sometimes. Like, I can succeed without you. I'll be just fine, you know? Okay. We have 7 of Pentacles reversed here. So this tells me that in your past life, you had kind of always worked towards something, but you never felt like you actually got the results you wanted for it, if that makes sense. Like, you felt like you were always kind of running in circles trying to make something happen that wasn't possible. Yeah, so it just kind of felt like you never reaped the rewards of what you had been putting time and effort into. We have King of Cups reversed here too, so this tells me that your life was kind of plagued with emotional manipulation and emotional abuse. King of Cups to me, upright, it's like a totally fun like person. Upright, it's like, it's that person who like buys everybody drinks and you hang out with them and it's so much fun. But whenever it's reversed, it's the dark side of that type of person. This is the overt narcissist. That's what the King of Cups reversed is to me, because this is somebody that you have fun around, but you don't realize that what they're doing is they're emotionally exploiting you. They're getting close to you, they're buying you things, they're doing all this stuff, but it's to keep you subservient to them. So I think in your past life you had to deal with some overt narcissism type stuff. I'm getting the feeling that this is a dad, but it could also be a romantic relationship, something like that. And we also have 5 of Cups here, so that means that your life had a lot of mourning in it. I am instantly getting the idea that there was death of maybe family members that you were close to. There's kind of always this like constant mourning, and you were never able to achieve the things that you wanted to achieve. So a lot of your life was kind of pain and mourning and no achievement, hiding who you really are, not being able to observe, a lot of reacting. Sorry, I'm laughing. It's just like, I haven't gotten a reading like this yet, you know, like all the other readings where you had to learn these lessons, but this was definitely like your life was kind of, so far, it seems, a bit torturous in your past life, which makes me feel like in this life, you're probably prone to depression. There's probably, even if your life is perfectly fine, I feel like that you probably have this, overall kind of like sadness that you carry around, and it might be this hurt and pain from your past life that wasn't, fully worked out. There's 4 of Swords here, so this is actually like a taking a break type of card. So I'm hoping in your past life you were able to take a break and kind of relax, but it is like an overwhelming card. Like you're just overwhelmed and you just need to like lay down for a bit, you know? Here we have the Voice. So, excuse me. So in this life, I feel like it's very important for you to use your voice to express yourself. I feel like that's so essential for you, because I feel like in your past life you weren't exactly able to, and I think also that your words were used against you a lot in your past life. A lot of like just an environment of everybody being triggered, an environment that was not safe for anyone. So in this life, it's definitely important for you to learn how to speak your truth. And it's right here with that show people the real you type of, you know, energy. We have manifestation here. So in this life, you are meant to manifest new things and good things. It's going to be over here with this embrace your inner divine goddess. So it's going to be important for you to manifest this different life than what you had in the past. So keep up with those manifestations. and they can work. I mean, it takes a long time to actually believe them. I put up affirmations around the house and that helped eventually, but I mean, it didn't help right away. And I've been working on manifesting for a good like 4 months now. And of course, sometimes it feels like it's working, sometimes it feels like it's not. It really just depends, of course. But the idea is that even when it doesn't feel like it's working, to keep trying. And then we have duality here. So I think that this, normally what I think with duality is two different people, but what I feel like for this with duality is you embracing two different sides of yourself. I'm getting the feeling that you might be a Gemini. But yeah, embracing two different sides of yourself, I think, is what you're having to learn. There's a side of yourself from your past life that might have been a huge influence in who you were as a child. Like a lot of sensitivity issues is what I'm getting the feeling of. Like extremely sensitive, crying all the time, not being okay with anything that was going on, like, you know, fighting a lot, fighting the world. So this duality is kind of like working with a different side of yourself that isn't that person anymore, and accepting and forgiving yourself for being that type of person. It can be difficult to be a highly sensitive person whenever you're a child, because nobody understands what's going on. You don't understand what's going on. You just know you're upset. So you kind of get shamed by the family around you because nobody knows how to react to you being upset for what they see as no reason. From their perspective, you're just upset and it came out of nowhere. But like deep down, there was a lot more like internal things that were going on. We have the full reversed here. So this tells me that you might not be 100% ready to go on this new journey, but that just means that, I mean, it doesn't mean that you can't start. It just means that it's going to take a while, because you might not be fully there. You might still be in this mind space of sensitivity, being triggered, reacting, all that stuff. So to you at this point, it probably sounds impossible. I hope you're still even watching this, because I know whenever we have a hard time not reacting to stuff, not letting things hurt our ego, stuff like that, you don't even want to hear that there's another way to live, because you're like, fuck that. If there was another way to live, I'd be doing it. You know, whenever it's like, that's the ego talking. We don't know anything else. We do what we know, right? Which is why we fight our conditioning. We have 5 of Swords here, which tells me that there's a lot of pride. A whole lot of pride. So do not let your pride influence your relationships. I feel like it was a big part of what happened in the past. In your past life, you were a very prideful person. So that's a big reason of why you were hurt so much by what other people were doing, and this constant reaction instead of responding type energy here. We have the Sun. So the Sun is telling me that you have the ability in this life to change, right? Each day is a new day and a new opportunity, and we need to see it that way. Even if a day is bad, like this day didn't, if this day doesn't turn out well, it's like, well, at least I wake up tomorrow and I can do this, this, and this, you know? Even small stuff. Tomorrow, whenever I wake up, I can go get my favorite coffee. You know, tomorrow I'm going to take the time to take a bath. That's just for me. I'm going to go for a walk. I'm going to journal. There's so many plans you can make for tomorrow and just follow through, you know? And we also have Queen of Cups here. This could be somebody you know, or this could be you. I'm getting the feeling that this is the person you could be. This is a very empathetic person. This is somebody other people can go to for advice. Oh yeah, it's going to be placed right down here with I have power. Sorry. It's going to be right here with the I have the power to make change, right? So we can become this person. You can use the high emotions you feel every day and use them as a way to be helpful and open to other people. That's not to say to give up your sense of self to do this, because that doesn't feel good either. Look within first. Help yourself first, and you will become a much more compassionate person. If you can learn to accept yourself and observe your own behaviors and change your ego and realize the toxic things you actually do and accept them and make the steps to change, like, it feels so powerful. And it's much better than living in those same cycles or being afraid that your triggered self is going to come out, you know? Because, like, I understand what it's like to live with that fear. It, like, it makes you shake, you know? Somebody does something and it hurts your ego and you want to lash out. Your instinct is to want to lash out. And that person might even be wanting that reaction from you. They might be doing what they're doing to make you lash out. But you have to fight within to not do it, and it's scary because it's like, I don't want to be that person anymore. I'm not that person anymore. And you kind of start shaming yourself and going into the spiral. It is much better to accept. Not saying act on it, but it's much better to be like, this is my instinct because of what happened, and I'm not going to do it because I am a caring and kind person now. I struggled to be caring and kind back then because I was living in fear, but now I'm living in light and I'm living in love, right? We have 2 of Wands here, but it's reversed. So it's kind of this idea that you in this life are going to stop looking elsewhere. Yeah, this is like a not looking elsewhere for, you know, external things. Think in your, like when I see this, I think in my head of a vision of, it's from my other deck, but of somebody looking out the window waiting for things to change. Like they're kind of just like waiting. So it's like instead of waiting for something to change, you're ready to actually start making the steps, which is probably a big reason of why you're watching this video, and maybe you're getting into spirituality and stuff like that. It's because you do want to change. We have King of Pentacles reversed here. This could be a person you know, or it could be you, but this is a person who's like flashy about their money. If King of Pentacles was right side up, then this would be a person you could ask for financial advice. But it being reversed is somebody who does have a lot of money, but they're like flashy about it. They're kind of like not very helpful, or if they are helpful, it comes from this like wanting to put other people down like area. So I definitely think that this is somebody else in your life, and this is somebody who I think mirrors that King of Cups in your past life. I get the feeling that this King of Pentacles, I'm getting another father figure, but it could be a relationship. And it's kind of like mirroring the same thing from your past. Like, you're living it again. We have the Moon here. So if you are a Pisces, then this is a sign that you chose the right deck. But this is also a reminder to let go of illusions and let go of the lies we tell ourselves. For me, the Moon is kind of this idea whenever you have this spiritual awakening, you look around yourself and you realize that everyone is wearing a mask. Everyone has this false self that they present to the world, including you. So it's important to do the work and figure out, what is this false self? What's this person I try to present myself to be, but I'm not? Most of the time, it's perfection. Most of the time, that's what we want our false self to be, is somebody who's perfect. And then whenever we don't live up to that, it makes us frustrated. It also makes us frustrated with other people, too. Like, it's like, I struggle with this a little bit with, like, chores and keeping the house clean and stuff. I finally accepted that, like, things aren't going to always be clean and spotless and stuff. But there was a while where that was like a part of my false self. So when there were messes or things like that, I got so frustrated with everybody else, even if it really was not a big deal. Like somebody just forgot to, I don't know, put the butter away. And I'm like upset. So it's like, these are just like things like that to kind of like let go of that false self, and take your mask off. And then we have 3 of Wands here. And this is kind of like, this is the beginning steps of a different journey. Like, it's like you've started putting in the work, you've started putting in the effort, and you're taking those steps to change. It's going to be over here with the embrace your inner goddess and the duality here. So working with, work with your inner child and work with your false self, and do that internal work to become your true self. Yep, we have choose a new direction, but we also have you're going in the right direction. This actually makes me think that you've recently made the decision to go in a different direction. You might have been in so much pain from this reaction and being triggered and all that stuff that you're like, I want something different for my life. So you're finally making the choice to do something different. So that's like the new direction you decided to go on, and then this is a reminder that that's the right choice, to show people the true you. That is the correct choice for you to make. And then you can aspire to become this Queen of Cups here that ended up being in the center of the spread. You have the power to become her, so just work on it. If it takes months, weeks, days, years, whatever, keep working on it. Keep working on yourself. And it's okay to change, and it's okay to be different. All right. Thanks for watching. If this resonated, please leave a comment to let me know, and I'll see you next time. Bye. Hey, if you chose group 4, then that means that you chose the sea turtle. I don't have these cards memorized because they're kind of new, so I'm going to read a passage from the book, but what it tells me already is that the lesson you did not learn in your past life was independence. So this gives me the idea that you were codependent and most of your needs were met from external forces in your past life. For whatever reason. We're going to explore more and see why that is. I always rely on myself. When it's time for sea turtles to give birth, they travel back to the beach where they were born. There they lay their eggs and leave their offspring to fend for themselves once they hatch. The little turtles make their way into the wild ocean, evading predators along the way, to begin their life of solitude. They have a difficult start to life and must be self-sufficient from day one. Like sea turtle, we are resilient beings, and everything we need resides within us. In navigating these waters, we become more familiar with ourselves. Be assured and confident in your ability to stand on your own. Do you get caught up in the net of other people's drama? Do you tend to be a people pleaser? Do you allow others to control you? Take steps to counteract these tendencies. Learn to put yourself first before you take care of others. The universe supports each of us, and while we are independent, we are never alone. The universe is always with us. Spirit is always with us. And also, you are still a person. So spending time with yourself, loving yourself, all of those things, being your own friend, you can do all that stuff, and it doesn't have to be lonely. I think that our culture kind of perpetuates that being alone is being lonely, especially extroverted people. Extroverted people do not understand introversion, like, at all. I've never been made to feel like a freak more than, like, having to be in a close living space with an extroverted person. And that's happened a couple of times. Like, we get along at first because I don't mind going out and talking to people, meeting people, but then as we would get, like, you know, I'm thinking of a dorm situation. So as we're getting further along in the semester, I'm staying at home because I'm focusing on work, I'm resting, doing my own thing, watching whatever I want to watch, you know, stuff like that. And the extroverted person was, like, freaking out. Like, they were like, I don't understand you. You have, like, no friends. But I was like, I do have friends. I have lunch with them on campus, and then I come home and I come here. But she was, like, always going out all the time. So she, like, couldn't understand, like, just being okay with yourself. And I feel like that is something that you did not learn in your past life. Maybe you were an extroverted person, and maybe in this life you struggle with the same thing. Maybe you're someone who you always find yourself alone, and you're kind of like, why me? Why do I keep ending up all by myself? I hate being by myself, you know, and it's kind of like you're forced to face that. I release all blame and turn within to seek the truth. I affirm that I am willing to release the causes and patterns in my consciousness that are creating any negative conditions in my life. That's a hard thing to do. But it's something we do have to do in this life, is recognize that what we are allowing. That's the way to put it. What is it that we allow and why? You know, you're not a bad person for it. You're not stupid. It usually just comes from comfort, especially in our past life. In our past life, you might have had a cushy life. We don't know for sure yet, but if you never had to be independent, you might have had a cush life. So then you're in this world and you're in this life and it's not turning out that way, even though you feel like you deserve it because it's what you had before. So you're like, I don't understand why other people are getting this stuff, why I'm always alone. And a lot of that ego speak isn't our friend either, right? The end of a tough cycle approaches, full moon in Capricorn. So, this is telling me that that we're talking about in this life. You have something that's very difficult that you're going through right now, but this is a reminder that is starting to end. I'm wondering if you're going to get into a different environment where maybe you're going to be around more people, because I'm getting the idea that you don't like isolation at all. And this video is supposed to be timeless, but this is during the coronavirus pandemic where a lot of people are social distancing. Like, I haven't been to work in 2 months now, and I'm not going back to work for at least another 2 or 3 weeks. So, you know, So it's kind of like that like social distancing, that isolation, that like dark period that you're going through. That's going to be coming to an end. And that doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to go back to hanging out with people. It might just mean that the tough cycle you're currently having of being alone might shift. Your idea of being alone might shift, and you might start doing internal work, and you might start finding that you like being alone. Wouldn't that be crazy to like being alone? Just kidding. Okay, a little reminder here. You are pure magic. You have magic inside of you. You have the magic to manifest the things that you want. I actually saw something recently that was like how to manifest the relationship you want. And it's like, make a list of the type of partner you want. Make a list of the things you want them to do. And then see how you add up to it. And if there are things that you're not doing in your life, but you expect your partner to be able to do it, start working to make those things happen. And not in a false way. What I mean by a false way is saying you're like this, but you're truly not. Like having this like false self, that is a mask. And the mask eventually falls. And whenever it falls, it's traumatic. Not only for you, but for the other person. Because it's like, oh, this person I got to know and believed they were this specific type of person. Do y'all hear that? The person I got to know and I believed they were this person, they're actually not. And then you have to also be faced with pretending to be this person, and then you get close to this other person and they realize you're not that, and you have to deal with their disappointment. So it's like detrimental and very traumatic to create this false self and pretend that you're this person when you're truly not. So you got to do the internal work to find out, like, who am I truly? And who do I want to be? And what actions can I take where I am this person when I am still alone? Not, I'm this person in front of everybody, but alone I'm sad. Who am I when I am alone? That's an important question to ask yourself. I'm unapologetic about what I desire and trust that what I focus on will grow. So yeah, doing that manifestation, using that magic within to help yourself grow and help what it is exactly that you want grow. Self-acceptance, right? That's what we all want. Okay, we have Ace of Pentacles reversed. So this gives me the idea that in your past life, there was a lot of blockage. There wasn't much financial security, and there was kind of like this always like having to struggle type of thing. And you weren't independent. So that gives me the idea that the way that you made things work was by external forces. So that means other people. So you were supported by other people in your past life. We have Six of Wands, which tells me that this is a really good card. This is like victorious and like having something to celebrate about. So you might have won something in your past life, and that was how you were able to have the life that you had. We need to see more about that. But yeah, there's like something victorious that happened that you kind of like went around parading about. Maybe it was the fact that you got with somebody who had a lot of money. So you kind of felt like you were able to like walk around and be all like, this is the type of person I am, you know? I mean, we can pull out more cards, but that's just what I'm getting. We have 10 of Cups too, so that means that you were actually really close to your family. You had like, at least on the outside, it appeared as if you had all of these good things in your life happening. Like you had children that you were close to. You married, you know, somebody who you believed was, you know, better than you and could provide for you in this specific way. So it seemed like you had it all in your past life. But we got King of Pentacles reversed here, so this gives me the idea that this is either you or the person you were married to, something like that, but this is somebody who uses money in a way to think of it as like status and power, and to think that they're above other people just because they have money. So, yeah, that could have been you in this past life, or it could have been the person you were married to. We have inspiration. So that victorious thing that happened, it made you inspired, and it made you inspired to, I think, do things differently. It's going to be over here with that in the end of a tough cycle approaches. So you were able to have this inspiration to change your life and do something different. I'm wondering what exactly that was. Because it's also over here with the I'm unapologetic about what I desire and trust that what I focus on will grow. We have wildness, so embracing the wild within you. It's going to be over here with that you are pure magic. So this is kind of a reminder that I get the idea that you were kind of like a party person, or you were very extroverted. Like, I'm thinking Leo energy. I'm getting hardcore Leo vibes. So I get the feeling that in your past life you were always like kind of wild and like, you know, what's it called? Center of attention, like things like that. And you were kind of like wild sometimes to like get that type of attention. Like everybody was like, oh, let's watch out for so-and-so, you know? And then we have unfamiliar territory here. So I feel like in this life you're in unfamiliar territory because I feel like you're not getting that same type of recognition that you might feel entitled to deep down because you had it in your past life. You were always the center of attention, people cared about you, but in this life you're isolated. So like, what's up with that? Why aren't people recognizing how good I am, right? That's the idea there. Why can't people see that I deserve to be cherished or adored or whatever? We have Four of Swords here. So it's kind of like a reminder to relax or rest because there's just too much on your plate and there's just too much overwhelming energy. And I'm getting the feeling that that's you now. It might have been you towards the end of your past life because sometimes how we were at the end of our past lives is kind of like how we go into the attitude we have when we go into our new life or our current life. We have Four of Pentacles, so this means penny pinching and being frugal and things like that. It could be a positive thing though, like you're trying to save up for something, but I think in your last life you had a lot of privilege and you had a lot of money and financial gain, and in this life you're kind of like scraping by or just not really like living that type of life. Like maybe you feel like you deserve like a lavish life and that's not what you have. And then we have Judgment reversed. So this is kind of a reminder to stop judging others. Some of that isolation could come from the idea that maybe you feel like you're above other people or that you have the ability to judge them. And then that leaves you isolated and alone because people can tell whenever you're judging them. You can tell when people are judging you, you know? So judging people and kind of devaluing them and believing you deserve better than them for whatever reason isn't something that serves you. So it's important to like let go of that judgment of others because it can help lead you to letting go of judgment of yourself. And then we have the Wheel here, which is going to kind of be the central part of our spread, along with the I release all blame and turn within to seek the truth. We have the Wheel here, which is the acceptance of life cycles, the acceptance that life just happens to us. We're just going around and around, you know? We can always break the cycle by doing something different, but there is kind of this acceptance of like, we live Sunday to Saturday, January to December, you know, just like things like that. Like we do live in a cycle. Oh, and that's right next to the end of a tough cycle approaches. So I get the feeling that, yeah, in your past life there was like, in your past life you had received so much abundance that I feel like you didn't want for things. You were just taken care of. And you just had everything you believed that you needed and had. Even if this King of Pentacles reversed here, even if it was like a greedy person or somebody who flashes money, it was something that you liked. It was something you enjoyed. I think that there was that blockage though, of course, like this Ace of Pentacles reversed, of you being independent and making money on your own, though. So you kind of did have to deal with his attitude, but at the same time you're okay with it because you had all the things you wanted. So in this life, you're meant to kind of fight against that and not just marry somebody for money. You know, in this life, you're meant to be independent. We have Ace of Wands here. So this is kind of the spark of a new idea. This is the spark of something different. Okay, this tells me that this lack of independence I was literally just talking about and the King of Pentacles reversed, this tells me that that energy started to give you the spark of an idea of like maybe to do something different. Like it's like I'm dependent on this person, but this person isn't very nice. So what's something that I can do to make myself feel more fulfilled? And then we have 10 of Wands reversed here. And this tells me that there just wasn't really much that you could defend. There wasn't much in your past life that was yours. So it kind of felt like there was no point in defending yourself or your things because none of it was really yours. It was all bought for you. Which we know that that's not really true. Oh, we have inspiration over here as well. So kind of being victorious whenever it comes to this, like wanting to change type of thing. I get the feeling that most of your life you were caught up in all the money and the things and the attention and being the center of attention and stuff, but I'm feeling like maybe towards the end of your life, that wasn't serving you anymore. You wanted more. You wanted something different. We have the Lovers reversed here. This is, if you're a Gemini, this is a sign that you picked the right deck. This could also have to do with a bad decision. A decision that did not end up serving you. And I feel like you made this in your past life. And it kind of led to a break off of, like, that stability that you were having. And then we have 4 of Swords here. So 4 of Swords twice. So taking a break. I feel like towards the end of your life you were just resting because maybe you dealt with so much. What's popping into my head right now is domestic violence. I'm not saying for sure that that's what happened in your past life, but for some that might be what resonates. Is kind of like this idea of like finally being able to rest whenever you get away from that person who was providing everything. And think about it this way, in your life, if you're constantly alone, think about it this way, you don't have to deal with that, right? You don't have to deal with that again. We also have here, unlikely. So this is kind of telling me, I think, that you're unlikely to live that same life again. And then we have, this is the sign. And that's going to be over that the end of a tough cycle approaches. So this is the sign that it's coming to an end, this like dark period that you feel like you're having right now, where you're completely isolated. That's coming to an end. Okay, so that's your reading about your past life. There were definitely some ups and downs here, it feels like, but I mean, all lives are like that. And the central focus here is to remember to look within and the reminder to accept life and accept cycles and accept that we're always moving forward. So if you don't feel independent right now, you're uncomfortable being alone, things like that, you can always start making the steps to being okay with it. And being okay with being alone and loving yourself when you're alone, having fun with yourself, being your own like best friend, being your own like love, like all that stuff leads you to more fulfilling relationships, because if you're okay being alone, you're not going to accept shitty behavior just to be with someone else. You know, that's just not how it's going to happen. It's a really hard thing to accept, but if you feel yourself not liking the way people are acting, but you're just like, it's okay, I'm still going to hang out with this person, then that means you need more time to yourself. It needs to be like a yes, you know, like, this person is awesome, I have fun with this person, I feel good about doing this with this person. It needs to be all yeses, not a reluctant yes, you know? And many times when we hang out with somebody and we were reluctant to hang out with them, guess what? It ends up not really being that fun. Sometimes they don't treat us the best, things like that, because we can sense each other's energy. If you're uncomfortable around someone, they're going to treat you a certain way and make you feel uncomfortable. You might even accidentally be forcing them to react in a way that they don't like about themselves, you know, without realizing it. So it is important to be like good within, to go out so you're expressing love and you're not expressing fear to others. If that resonated, please leave a comment to let me know, and I will see you next time. Goodbye and good luck.